Hi. The myth I'm exploding is that millennials are interesting. But I'm not talking about the reality of people in their 20s, in their enormous and fascinating diversity. I'm talking about millennials, their idealized, blanded out marketing zombie version. Young people are awesome. Millennials are a construct designed to make them safe for marketers. The millennial is to a real 20-something as a stock selfie. Before we talk about millennials, we need to define them. Or maybe we don't. Nobody else has. Millennials are a generational cohort that starts and ends at the convenience of whoever's researching them. The upper age bound is anywhere from 25 to 37, and I've seen the lower bound set as low as 8. Every study is different. But even if there was a fixed definition, people 18 to 34 right now say the concept is still a scam. The idea of generational cohorts comes from sociology. The idea was that a cohort is unified by going through a particular event when young, like the civil rights movement or 9/11. But marketers have steadily expanded the idea, so the cohort is unified by much broader experiences and also by attitudes. At the same time, it's come to dominate targeting conversations, pushing demographic markers like age, gender, ethnicity, and social background to the side. But this expansion of cohorts makes little sense. The cult of the millennial asks you to believe that a 34 and an 18-year-old have more in common than a 34 and a 35-year-old. And the fixed bounds of the cohort mean they always will. The same marketers talking about how we live in an era of constant change feel that the best way to express that change is in fixed groups spanning 2 entire decades. This is horoscope thinking. But flawed definitions can still produce useful results, can't they? Studies of millennials tend to be heavily attitudinal. 50% want to work for a business with ethical practices. 45% think the internet is the most reliable news source. 55% consider themselves a happy person. In the numbing pile-up of percentages, the odds of anyone agreeing with all of them diminishes. What's being described is not people, let alone behavior. Millennial isn't a demographic, it's a genre. It's a genre anyone can fit into. The picture you're looking at is my results from a Pew Research quiz. Despite being 40, ich bin ein Millennial. And marketers love it so much because it's a genre, with marketing portraits of millennials as its purest expression. Millennials crave authenticity, yet are desperate for brands to engage them. They strive for uniqueness, but love to connect. They are naturally creative, with entrepreneurial goals. They sound great, quite frankly. They sound like exactly the sort of people you'd need to pay marketers a lot of money to reach. Come to think of it, they sound like marketers. They are young people as business would love them to be. Where's the harm, though? If marketers and researchers have created an image of the millennial that's palatable to brands, it's still not an outright lie. But look at the timing. Pull up Google Trends for the word millennials, and the interest in them begins in 2007 to 8. And builds very steadily from then. In other words, a fascination with the millennial cohort is a cultural artifact of our particular times, the era of the Great Recession. And this feels slightly sinister, because young people were profoundly affected by the financial crisis. Some interpretations of the recession see it as a generational heist, falling house prices and failing banks shored up by policies cutting away at young people's futures. Youth unemployment has soared, job security has plummeted, and even privileged young people are expected to work for free. And all of these are amplified by existing demographic lines, gender, race, social class, and others, which are exactly the lines our optimistic, catch-all category of millennials blur or even erase. Every study of millennials stresses how diverse they are, while trying to find ways to ignore that diversity and create a giant cozy umbrella category. And anyway, does the millennial cult actually help marketers? Marketers try to target millennials, but they use the idealized descriptions of them as a guide, so their communications are speaking to a minority. It often doesn't work, and they are caught in a vicious circle. Rather than say, look, this thing we're targeting probably doesn't exist, they instead say, millennials are so mysterious and hard to market to, we must spend even more finding out about them. Ultimately, I reject the idea that millennials are interesting, because millennials are a pointless umbrella category, designed to sanitize young people and marginalize any that don't fit the cliche. The one thing the generation concept is useful for is what it was originally designed for: triangulation for major cultural reference points. The rest is nonsense. Researchers helped create the cult of the millennial. We should do our bit to end it. Thank you.